There's probably some part of your life that has felt like you've been unable to move forward. Things have been going slow. You felt kind of stuck ever since December 2024. Well, good news. That's about to change. Mars is heading direct on February 23rd. He's doing this in a way we haven't seen since 77, 78. And it's going to bring our lives into a new sense of purpose, direction, and flow through the Cancer and Leo part of our whole sign natal charts. This is going to impact the world, especially some major world figures like Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and the United States of America, based on where the station direct is happening. But we're not going to really dive into that today. Come to my channel for my What in the World Wednesdays. That would have been the day before you're receiving this video. And I'll talk about Mars direct and how it impacts the world and also the United States. In the meantime, this is all about you. And I'm recording this video as a piece of a front end of an all signs delineation, because I recorded your whole video yesterday, which would have been February 16th, and my microphone was turned way down. And so even though you can still hear me, it's a very soft delivery of the content of each sign. So once you finish this intro, and it's not going to be long, and you go to your sign, please jack up your volume on your device, because unfortunately, my microphone readjusted to a StreamYard podcast that I did with another channel, and I didn't know that it had auto defaulted to really low. And that's exactly what you get with Mercury disabled, Mercury, the microphone god, disabled in the sign of Pisces, a mute sign. You get weird stuff like this. So anyway, nothing I can do about it, but at least I want the front end to be a decent volume and warn you that you're going to have to turn your volume up for your sign. Now, I want you to take some screenshots while I show you the sky, because it's going to be very important to understand the cyclical nature of this sky. So get ready to take a screenshot if you want to keep track of what's going on. I'm going to give you a couple easy screenshot tables. And before I do that, welcome, by the way. Are you new to my channel? My name is Lori Lothian. This is Western Tropical Zodiac. This is not sidereal astrology. Also, if you're somebody who is wanting to learn astrology, I teach a lot of classes. My Sky Reader class is at least once a year. I'm probably rebooting that this summer. That's a 6-week Time Your Best Life, Learn to Be Your Own Astrologer. But what I have going now is a Venus class. And if you're interested in taking a Venus retrograde 6-week course with me, we navigate the waters of a 6-week retrograde cycle that takes us back to 2017-18, the last time this cycle actually happened. And we're going to have fun together, collage parties, Facebook group, live classes, Q&As every second week, and replays available. You get to keep the content. You don't have to be there live with me in class, but if you want to be, you can be. All right, so check it out in the description box. Liberate 20 is a 20% discount code that's active through to February 22nd. So grab it while it's still there and come join me in class. It's still affordable, even if you don't get the early bird pricing, but please check it out. And I'd love to see you in the course with me and a bunch of other astro curious folks as we playfully navigate the Venus retrograde 40-day cycle. Class begins March 1st and ends on April 12th. Now, holy man. And sometimes, you guys, if you like my bracelets, this is Otter Spirit, 20% discount on all their astrologically precise jewelry. And I'm not every single time going to, share all the info, but just know when you see me with beaded bracelets, I am sharing the Otter Spirit jewelry, where they have astrological sets of bracelets, moonstone, hematite, aventurine, and stuff. Okay. What do you call it? Labradorite? No, not labradorite. What do you call that blue stone? Not sodalite. There's another, lapis lazuli. Okay. All right. So let's get going. Let's go ahead. Let's do the astrology. Let me share these screenshotables for you. This makes it very easy for you to understand by seeing it visually. I'm a visual learner. I don't know, some of you may be like me. I learn best when I can see something. And so this is why I'm giving you these cues. Hang on. I'm having tech issues with my laptop now. Okay. The universe has got a sense of humor. I can see that I'm sharing it, but I can't see it too. Let me stop the share for a sec and try to bring that share back. I know you guys probably saw it, but I'm unable to see it, which doesn't do me any. Trying to read it to you without being able to see it doesn't work. Let me grab it again. Now I see it on my screen, but it won't show. This is like weird tech stuff. Give me a sec. I'm giving it a second try. All right, there we go. And September, this is a cycle that has importance, and I want you to look at it very briefly before I show you one other screenshot cycle. You might be able to tell here, as long as my face isn't in the way, you might be able to see that there has been a repeating cycle of Mars moving through the sign of Cancer and retrograding. And you can see the dates here. And I will say that the only time that's like now is September of 1945 to April of 1946. That was a beginning of retrogradation from early Leo and moving backwards from September 7th, 1945 to April of 1946. And we're not going to cover the world astrology comparisons. The next time we had some, that's for What in the World Wednesday, which came out the day before this video. But also August 31st to 1977 to April 11th, 1978, Venus Mars going stationary 6 degrees Leo for retrogradation on December 6th and backtracking into Cancer, where Mars would have been, in August, September, into early November. So this cycle that involves Leo, celebrities, leaders, kings, solar stars, performers, the Leonine energy is about leadership, politicians especially, so kings especially, presidents and prime ministers. And so a lot of what we see coming through this cycle that started this time around, September the 4th, 2024, all the way through to June 17th of 2025, that's where Mars goes into the sign of Cancer and then goes into the next sign of Leo and then goes back to Cancer. This overlapped with the election of Donald Trump in the United States of America, who is a Leo rising, and J.D. Vance, who is a Leo rising, and the United States sun, which is at 13, 14 degrees of Cancer, is being activated by the Mars station at 17 Cancer. So there's a lot going on around this cycle that we can compare geopolitically to 77, 78, 45, 46. That will be in yesterday's video. Go watch it because it will have import as Mars stations direct on February 23rd. But in your own life, right, depends on your age, the closest equivalent to the sky right now is that 77, 78 storyline. However, if you want to look at 2007 to 2008, September to May, the top line, you did have as a Cancer, sun, moon, or rising, and Gemini, sun, moon, or rising, a lot of energy with this Mars retrograding. Okay, so you guys would have experienced this time of life, 2007 and 2008, those dates, a lot of Mars moving through the sign of Cancer and Mars moving through the sign of Gemini. So that's our closest equivalent. Mars will spend a retrograde cycle of up to 6 months sometimes in a given sign. And so this is not that unusual. During the pandemic, he spent 6 months in the sign of Aries. That would have been in, 2020 maybe. And then again, he spent almost 6 months in Gemini, and that overlapped, by the way, with the war in the Ukraine. So that would have been 2022 fall to 23. And then maybe it was 21, it was 2020, 6 months in Aries. So every couple of years, Mars spends, a dog's age in a sign, and often will retrograde within the bounds of the sign, as he did in 1992 to 93, September to April, all within the sign of Cancer. And the same thing, September of 1960 to May of 1961, he retrograded all within the bounds of Cancer, but not this one. This one today that we're going through, the stationary moment, is a lot like moving back in a time travel machine to 77 and 78 in your life. There are going to be similarities. Now, I know a lot of you will say you weren't born or you might have been a child. That's fine. But, even if you were a child, what was going on with your family? What was happening in your school life? What was happening in your life? Cancer and Gemini are two pieces of celestial real estate in your 12 sign whole sign house sky. In order to understand this, do not use Placidus. We want one sign, one house, the ancient tradition. If you don't know how to cast your chart in whole sign houses, go to my description box below the more button. And as you scroll down, you'll find free gifts from me, a free asteroid course, a free meanings of the 12 houses PDF, but also a free downloadable video on how I teach you how in about 15 minutes or less, 10 minutes, to cast your chart in whole sign houses using free online software. This also allows you to discover your rising sign. All right, now the other screenshotable I have for you guys today, and let me grab it, is this cycle that we're just about to talk about. Well, it'd be good if I could see it on my back end. It was there a minute ago. All right, I think I just found it. There we are. Now, this is what happened this time around. It's very close to the 1945, 46, and 77, 78 stories, almost the same places in the sky where all the action happened in the very same way. So, back in, September 4th, Mars entered Cancer and left by November 4th in direct motion into the sign of Leo. So obviously you Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising people are very invested in this process, as the Leos are. And then on November the 4th, Mars went direct into Leo. And then it was on December 6th, 1 month later, that he retrograded at 6 degrees of Leo. And then on January 6th, that was the day the United States Congress ratified the election results. On December the 6th, Mars stationed retrograde. Alrighty, so we have a retrogradation moment there from 6 degrees of Leo. Now, Donald Trump has his Pluto at 10 Leo, his ascendant at 29 Leo, but it's still co-present with his natal whole sign first house, so to be considered. December 6th at 6 Leo. And then on January the 6th, Mars was in retrograde, but sliding now across the boundary of the fire sign of Leo into Cancer. So yet again, Cancer folk, you got to think about all of September and all of October into early November. You've got a lot of Martian energy. And we go January the 6th through until April the 18th. You've got more Mars in your sign. However, you will notice that the February 23rd, 17 degree station direct is when the unstuckness comes for the world. And for everybody, this Cancer Leo part of your sky, these two houses, is what I'm going to delineate in a very light volume. So don't forget to volume up for your sign, how you can use this to become unstuck, how you know now which direction to go, which action to take, which momentum to pursue, what passion to follow, what willpower to activate. These are ways that Mars will move you forward. And the kind of feeling that nothing was happening, that you were in an eternal pause button, or that you were stalling out, that your motor was stalling out, or you couldn't get out of park with your car. These are Mars retrograde stories. Mars retrograde is the inner warrior as well, going inside yourself with what you want to take action on, what decisions you must make, going into your inner life around those matters. And so sometimes we don't like that. We just want to be all action hero, get things done, get our to-do list checked off. And then Mars is like, wait a minute, guys, I'm going inward. I'm going inward. There's 2 times Mars is kind of off duty, and that's when he's retrograde, and that's when he's invisible for about 4 months every couple of years. So all said and done, your way of dealing with this energy is ideally to not resist it, because if you were pushing against it, you would have been frustrated. And as Mars is doing all this dance through the Leo sky and the Cancer sky, much of his journey through Cancer has involved a trine to Saturn. And Saturn means that Mars knows how to be disciplined, focused, and determined, to have active forbearance, to not give up, to grind when necessary. He's got this, but he's also knowing what is worth grinding for. So, for example, from my Aquarius rising perspective, when Mars has been in Cancer, September and November, I took on a new dietary style, because that's what he can do in the house of sickness, eliminate foods that are bad for me. And I managed to stick to it for the 2 whole months he was there. But also work, right? I was working hard. I was grinding. I was really pushing myself. That Mars trine Saturn and Pisces in my earnings house. So I was a workaholic all of September and October, teaching Sky Reader and all kinds of stuff. I was like over the top working hard. I was even still seeing clients and producing YouTube content. I was going to burn out. Then Mars hits this kind of wall. I'm just using me as an example. On December 6th, he's in Leo now. He's in my 7th house of significant others, marketplace, and audience, hits that Leo mark on November 4th, and then retrogrades on December 6th to my Aquarian 7th house, my Leo house. And what it's meant for me is since the retrograde in December 6th through to February 23rd, I've slowed down. I'm super chill. I am not pursuing new clients. I keep forgetting to open my calendar. Everyone's emailing me. I'm not sure I want to open my calendar right now. Probably I should wait till February 23rd. I'm recording on the 17th, so it's pretty close, and I'll open up some spots again for clients and people want to read with me. But all said and done, it's allowed me to take some time out. And I could say, where's my hustle? Why am I not working harder? Why am I not, doing my world domination? Because Mars is retrograde in my house of work and health, and I'm slowing down. And I'm now ready to move forward on February 23rd. That's why you should come to my March 1st Venus class. I didn't want to teach any new courses of any magnitude until I got Mars in direct motion in my work house, because Mars is in its joy in our Aquarius 6th house. So that's just using me as an example. And that's all I want to say. World Event Astrology is coming up, or it's behind you, because this video drops on a Thursday. The World Event Astrology is coming on Wednesday. You want to know how Trump, Musk, and world events are indicated. You want to know about Germany, because the German election is connected to the stationary direct Mars. There's a lot of kerfuffle in Germany about the centrist and rightist parties fighting for dominance. I don't know what else I'll be covering, because I'm recording this before I recover that, but about 45 minutes of world astrology called Mundane Astrology. It comes out every Wednesday on my What in the World Wednesdays. Some of you hate it. I got so many unsubs on the last one. Is Trump safe? About the third attempt to unalive him that should be coming through soon. People misunderstand world astrology for political opinion. It is not that. It's just talking about what the sky is, because I can see Trump in harm's way, which I did see and predict 2 weeks before he was the big unalive attempt happened close to his ear. I saw that in the astrology. I warned the world. It happened. Astrology is just a tool for prediction and pattern recognition. So please don't attack the messenger. As someone say to me, they mean that I'm being a meanie to Trump. You know what I mean? I'm not a meanie. I wish I was on staff. I wish I could warn him, like, this is a perilous time, end of March, mid-March, end of March through to like the end of April, like, duck, be careful. It's not a safe time for him. That's all I'll say. All right. So let's go ahead and let's do your sign. Don't forget, you can listen for your sun sign when you're thinking about career and purpose. You can listen for your moon sign about home and your emotions, home and domestic life, real estate, your emotions, and you're listening to your rising for everything about you. I look at your rising sign like the avatar, the game playing character that you choose in the simulation or in the video game, or you could call the rising sign your character in the movie, whereas the deeper essence of you, the core nature, is your sun. Like the sun is your actress, the rising sign is the role. Your sun is a game player. Your rising sign is the avatar in the game. All right. And your moon is actually more technically the enlivening force of, and the prana, the chi, and the thing that gives you the emotional mind body complex of your character. Right. So often the ascendant is also just circumstantially very accurate. If you're listening for your ascendant, you're going to likely see it resonate quite strongly. And sometimes people blow the astrology off. And I say, are you listening for your sun or your ascendant? Very few of us operate in our solar essence, which is our highest essence. And so that's why rising sign works better for you. However, just one reminder, this is not your personal chart reading. You may have debilitated planets. You might be in a difficult profection age. You might have a gnarly solar return. This is general bell curve astrology. A bell curve looks like this, and it's called a central tendency in the middle. And it means that for a central tendency, all of you, like Aries, sun, moon, and, Taurus, sun, moon, and rising, will have these kinds of themes emerge. But it's not going to be specifically your life. That would require a reading with a real astrologer, and that's something you can consider. I'm not seeing that many clients. Don't look to me here. My wait list is thousands long, but I will start putting a list of astrologers on my website. Let's go ahead and do the all signs, and you'll notice I'm not even wearing the same clothes because I'm recording the front end. I'm so sorry about the volume being so low, but I'm not going to record that content over again. I am pretty sure with headphones or just turning the volume up on your device, the second half of this video will be quite you'll be quite able to listen to it. It's not that low. Okay, thanks guys. I'll see you in the next videos. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Okay, and by the way, for all my regulars, this is a bouquet from my man on Valentine's Day. I'm going to get to your sign, I promise. Okay, hang on. I'll try to move it over gently without knocking the flowers over. There we have them. Yes, romance is not dead. It's not dead yet. Anyway, let's get going and talk about the Aries, sun, moon, and rising. So Aries people, I'm one of you. I have a sun and moon and Mercury in Aries, which is why I talk fast, because it sextiles my Saturnian Aquarius first house. You don't need to pay attention to Asteroid America. I had it in there because America is wounded. Asteroid America is moving into Chiron, and that's an asteroid that every 5 years can do a chironic intersection, but it's a wound to America in the house sign of war. So yeah, not great. But let's talk about you, Aries, sun, moon, and rising sign. So first of all, Mars is like stagnated out there for a long time, December 6th to February 23rd, but retrograde. But the retrograde started in your fifth house. Remember that. So really things really started to go backwards in romance, your children, your creative projects, your artistic endeavors, your entrepreneurial business endeavors, fifth house play, fun, joy, and pleasure matters. And as he retrograded on December 6th, by the time we got to January 6th, he was then also sliding backwards in home, property, land, and real estate. Now, there could be some things that upset you with a relationship to your lover, your romantic partner, your children. You had to backtrack, you had to go back and revise things, decisions you were thinking of making back in the first week of October, where Mars is stationing direct in the fourth house, have to do with considerations around home, property, land, and real estate, or domestic environment matters, and maybe changes you want to make there. Quite often, Mars is really good for gallivanting to foreign lands when he's in the fourth house, traveling abroad. Maybe even with Mars here, sometimes is indicative of changes you want to make in the home, like cutting and severing. Maybe you're thinking of leaving your home, asking someone to move out of your home, changing your home, but in relationship to the variables of the fifth house. Yeah, your children, your lover and romantic partner, your entrepreneurial endeavors, your creative projects, and your home life. And both areas are up for grabs. But now that Mars is direct motion on February 23rd through to April the 18th, you are all systems go in making the actions and decisions necessary or having them emerge for you in a clear way. In fact, he's going to sextile the South Node in your sixth house of rental properties, and decisions regarding rental properties or pets can finally be activated in a positive forward way between now and mid-April. But then mid-April till mid-June, like the 18th to 17th of June, 18th of April to 17th of June, Mars is busy in that fifth house. Now that's passion, that's determination, that's ardor, that's excitement for something that you're doing in your creative life, your romantic life, or in relationship to your children. And they may be having a great deal of go-getting momentum in their lives, especially if you're watching your adult children succeed in sports or in competitive things, or in meeting some of their own desires and goals by taking appropriate action. With this energy starting off this way with a Mercury trine, energetically, despite the debility, there's a lot of support from this, what we call a kite. It's hard to see, but it points to the moon up here. The moon's going to be moving quickly. So you're going to lose the kite visually, but know that at the time of the station direct, there's a sense of something wants to change or happen with Mars's support in a career matter. And Mars has a kind of reception with the moon, which I mentioned earlier. They're in a conversation of mutual reception, and it could indicate that there's some major career changes as well as home changes that are being enacted by you as he stations direct, and as it applies between February 23rd and that April 18th window of time. So you may move your office to your home. You may change your job, and involves a change of home. And the moon at the top of the sky is a very good for also changes in the sky that indicate you're doing something in your career changes that is emotionally satisfying, but you're kind of stoic about it. You know what I mean? It's Capricorn. You're doing it because you need it for your emotional wellness, and you need to be more resilient and stoic about the changes you need to make. Of course, Urania is the muse, and she's a muse of astronomy, astrology, I think song and dance. So you also want to be inspired by the muse and feel like you're living up to your potential here. And I want to also mention that as this is occurring, right, as this move is happening, that some things could change on your work and career matters, as well as your home and home life. That, as Mars is also flowing to that Mercury, look for phone calls, text messages, and emails connected to matters of income and revenue streams connected to chunky money, taxes, and corporation matters in a positive direction, especially with the fact that Mercury is talking to the Vestal flame in the 8th house of shared resources and other people's money. So that all gets bundled into the kite. For anybody who makes money in the online realm, this is good for you. What kind of moon is at the top of the sky? Well, it is a moon that's getting into a new moon, and therefore it is what we call a waning moon. The light is diminishing at this point. Let me take a look, and at 15 degrees. It's not quite that. Okay, it's a last quarter moon. So there's a last quarter moon, last half moon in the sky. So there's something you want to finish up, something you want to complete, something you want to close out, perhaps connected to your 10th house of career. And by closing out, it's just like a finish line is emerging of some sort, but also with Mars's cooperation. Let's just remember that you're going to move into a time of excitement and passion and ardor and enthusiasm and a competitive spirit, as well as you get that Mars now direct in the 5th house, April 18th to June the 17th. Now, this is for you Taurus people, and you can listen for your sun, career and purpose, moon, home and hope, safety, and sun, moon, and rising, of course, everything about your character in the game of life. One of the things you might want to pay attention to, of course, is that Mars retrograding in your 3rd house is an important story that takes you back to October. I mean, he's stationing at the things that occurred in the first week of October in the house of the following themes: short distance travel, skills-based learning, younger sibling, aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings in general, local environment, commuting, the neighborhood and the neighbors. This very busy Cadent house. And, Mars was there all of September, October, basically, right? And retrograded and then moved into Leo November 4th, and then began to retrograde back into this part of your chart on January 6th. So there's a lot going on here that you might think about, just September and October. What were you busy doing? Were you traveling a lot, teaching, learning? Were you engaged in battles with your neighbors? Did difficult circumstances for a sibling, especially one younger? There may be things about disruptions in friendships that belong to people you became friends with in high school or elementary school, and there might have been arguments or disruptions in those friendships then as well. But if you're an online person, a website, a marketer, seller, social media person, this part of your sky is also the 3rd house. Now, as battles as well, to do with things in the neighborhood, but it's also, this is a marketing and selling home. And this is a neighbor and neighborhood. So brick and mortar business conflicts as well could have occurred from some Tauruses in some way. With the asteroid Bienor here, be careful about rampages that you might go on as the station goes direct, But otherwise, it is also with the positive dog star Sirius. And there is a beautiful energy here going on with that flow to Mercury in your 11th house. And your 11th house can be friends, allies, and benefactors, people who wish to support you, help you, lend a hand, do you a favor. And so be a supporter for you. And so this energy, you could have some phone calls or emails or texts coming through as this direct station occurs on February 23rd. And so don't be afraid to pick up that phone. Good news is also coming to you with legal agreements and contracts with the sacred devotional flame in the 7th house. You might find that the energy of your 4th house, land, home, property, and real estate in connection to the 3rd house means you may have some commercial real estate or some changes with home and real estate matters and neighbor and neighborhood. My Taurus son daughter, as a result of this Mars in her 3rd house, secured a new rental property to live in with her boyfriend during the Mars September-October transit through the 3rd house. So in this regard, a lot of people may have moved their neighborhood, and she significantly moved from a house near the beach to a house in a completely city neighborhood. So think back to what you were doing September, October, but because Mars will also go back to your real estate house, right? That's important. Land, property, home, domestic life, and real estate are on the menu for you in directional, passionate, purposeful, unstuck ways. And when is that happening? Yes, it's, 18th of April to the 17th of June. Before that, of course, Mars moving through your 3rd house takes you back to October and decisions and actions you were taking and making regarding home and property and real estate and neighbors and neighborhood and matters of the such. Now, with the kite forming in the sky, which you won't be able to see now, but it does point to a moon up here. I wonder if I go back a day, I can get it to come back so it looks more strong. Not really. Let's keep going forward, but it's up here with the Muse Urania. So how is it that you might want to have a kite-like lift in terms of travel. This is like 2 travel houses, 9 and 3. And it could be the arrangement for a major travel opportunity and connected to a significant business partnership or love relationship, best in the 7th house. To devote yourself to some romantic getaway or travel opportunity for your partnership in love would be not too shabby. But also the moon, stoic and determined in Capricorn, and a kind of reception to Mars in the temple of the moon down below in her kingdom. It's like they're trying to work together also on matters to do with alignment to purpose, pilgrimages, and spiritual questing, things to do with being in alignment with Dharma and the meaning of one's life. The kite wants that to happen more than anything. It really wants you to lift into a deeper wisdom and knowledge and understanding of spiritual truth. And if that's anything you're interested in doing, this kite will help that occur as you want to lift into a more lofty zone. If you wanted to go off to university or college or reapply for some educational studies, this is very powerful too. And learning and studying and applying for studying, and you've been thinking about it, October, November, December, now finally, bang, February 23rd through until April 18th is a good time to pursue educational opportunities that could increase your revenue and income, ruled by Saturn in your 11th house. And you are kind of a person in the sky, right? Being grounded and fixed, right? Grounded and fixed, Taurus energy, fixed energy, where change isn't your favorite thing to do. But you do see Uranus complying in the house of youth, breaking up stagnation and flowing to the tip of that kite. So this is a time for liberation, breaking your straitjackets that hold you back, but also redefining your entire sense of life's purpose. There's something coming to a finish line as you break through to a newer sense of mission or purpose or destiny in your life. Okay. So Geminis. Now my progressed sun is here. I always tell you guys that, but your progressed sun, take the position of your sun for every age, every year of your life at a degree. So, when you're 60 years old, often your sun is in 2 signs over from where it was when you were born. And the progressed planet is not as important. You can progress your ascendant the same way. Progressed planets are not as important as your natal chart, but there are useful layers of meaning. Okay, so don't discard them as well. Now, Geminis, you're lucky to have Jupiter supporting you and protecting you and improving your health and being your guardian angel. So all is well. He's here till June 9th. Now, under the umbrella of this Jupiterian protection for Gemini, sun, moon, and rising, you'll notice that Mars is moving direct on the 23rd of February after being retrograde starting in Leo on December the 6th, and then retrograde in your 2nd house as of December 6th in Leo, and as of January 6th, retrograde in your 2nd house. Now, did I get that right? Yes. Your 2nd house is earnings, money, wellness, resources, food, shelter, water. The 2nd house supplies that to the 1st house, so you survive. So this money house is in critical placement for Mars, because normally when we see that in a natal chart, Mars in the 2nd house makes you a independent business person, a self-starter, someone who's really good at making their own money. That's good for you that way. But at the same time, you can also spend a lot of money. So he does both. But Mars is here to change the direction and help you take actions and decisions that are needed in order for you to make significant shifts in the way you earn money or save money or have financial wellness. He started asking you to consider this back in September and in October, when he was in direct motion through your 2nd house. And he may have been very strong for you in this regard, trying to give you a lift or support what you were doing, because you still were under that protection of Jupiter. Very few Geminis would have had financial downdrafts. That would have been most unlikely, right? Especially given he kept trining Mars in your 10th house. And so I'll give me as an example. I launched my Sky Reader in September, and it was a really great success. And I was working hard for my money. Mars trine Saturn in the 10th house, active forbearance, endurance. So most of us felt that way probably. And then the retrograde portion of the story began in Leo at 6 degrees. And so there's also considerations about starting on January 6th, no, December 6th, about reconsidering your third house matters too. Now, that could be to do with teaching, communicating, marketing, and selling. That can do with the social media and online world and all of the websites connected to it and all the platforms. It also has reconsiderations over matters to do with aunts, uncles, cousins, neighbors, and siblings, and especially the one younger than you. So those stories are now being also revisited, particularly when he moves back through Leo on April 18th to June 17th. For now, he's preoccupied with that money and he's ready to take actions and make decisions in order for you to be successful financially and what you need to remove, cut, end in order for that success to happen, especially given the position of Saturn North Node in the top of the sky and Mercury. That trine from Mercury is allowing for you to announce, perhaps, or decide and announce or negotiate contracts and deals with employers or bosses for your enduring financial wellness. So there's these shifts that are trying to happen. And, the direct station on the 17th of the degree of Cancer on the dog star Sirius is a positive energy. And you might find a perseverance and high focus with Bienor there. Just don't let someone smash you in the face. And you might find as well that your first week of October, there were decisions you were making regarding money, earnings, and income, or wanted to make, or actions you thought of taking, but you didn't actually execute them yet. Now you are free to do that, knowing that the executioner himself, Mars, is in good stead. He is direct. Now, he also is going to, activate a kite that's hard to see, but trust me, I know you see a star, David, just ignore it, okay? Look at the moon up here. This is a kite, right? Boom. And it's in the 8th house of taxes, chunky money, resources with a spouse, investment monies, banks and mortgages and all of that. Now, this is positive. This is a moon that's stoic and resilient, and she's in a reception with Jupiter in her temple, and he's in her place of the moon's in his exaltation home. So there's something good trying to happen. And it looks to me like you might want to make some decisions that also impact your financial bottom line in 8th house ways, changing your tax structures, changing your investment structures, sharing money, getting royalty income. This is also ad revenue, like from YouTube ads and Google AdSense and stuff. It's money that's derivative, that's more passive, that you're not directly getting paychecks from, that doesn't connect to dollars for hours. And there's some kind of lifting off of a kite here. Urania, the astrology muse, the astronomy muse, and just the muse in general. We want to be muse inspired in the way you make your money. And there could be also Mercury dispensing realistic communications with a fantastical edge. So look for things that are coming through your sky with regards to career and maybe, developments from the boss or the, if you're looking for a job, you get the interview opportunity emerging as Mars goes direct. Vessel flame in the 6th house and the kite asks you to devote yourself to your work. You want to feel a sacred duty. You don't want to feel like you're in a drudgery. They called the 6th house a house of slavery because indentured servitude and slavery was a thing in the ancient world. It didn't start with the United States and its slave thing. It was all everywhere. People were slaves. The worst thing that could happen to you in Rome was you became a slave. You could be a normal person and you could be enslaved. It was really weird. So the idea is that this place of bad fortune would be the worst thing is to be a slave. But in modern world, we're a slave to a job we don't like, metaphorically. So I know it's probably politically incorrect to tell you ancient history because I'll get somebody slamming me for that, but that's what happened. So if you are in a job you don't like or you hate, and you haven't found a sacred devotion, a sense of duty that is like beyond the pale, and you want to dedicate yourself to it, then this is going to help you make that shift. Cancer, sun, moon, and rising. So first of all, energy-wise, there's a lot of transversing of your sky. And I talked in the beginning, this is like a 1977, 78 time period. Traversing of your sky is happening here between the signs of Leo and the signs of Cancer. And that part of your sky is, of course, you. Your sun is here, or your moon is here, or your rising is in Cancer. And so your sun, your career, your rising, your character, your moon, your emotions, but also your home life and home matters. These things have been activated by Mars. And this happened the same way in 1977, end of August through until the summer of 1978. The same cycle has repeated itself. So here we would wonder, you, particularly the first week of October, maybe what were on the threshold of certain choices, actions, and decisions you wanted to make but hesitated to make. You pondered, you thought about, or you took them actions and decisions then in your life, and you had maybe some regrets. Maybe it wasn't the right choice for you, especially with the South Node at the time still in the fourth house, maybe to do with home or land or property or real estate. But independent of what decisions and actions you almost made or regretted making in October, and know that Mars, is back here again. All of September and October, he's traveling through your first house. And he has a hiatus in the house of earnings, money, and resources. And then he goes, and also food style, like changing your food style, quitting your addictions, getting rid of the gluten, whatever. Second house matters. Then he goes having facial surgery or rejuvenation or laser procedures. That would have been something you may have considered doing November the 4th when he went direct through your second house. But then he retrograded there on December the 6th. So you may have changed your mind about the nose job or you regretted it. And now he's gone back to your first house. So your first house, as of January 6th, under revision, under stuck, under slow, decisions and actions were not forthcoming by you. Time to go into direct motion and make those decisions and actions necessary. With a trine to the Vestal Flame in the house of romantic love and children, those decisions might be about romantic love and children, creative or entrepreneurial projects. With the Vestal Flame taking cue from Mercury in your ninth house, with a Mars direct taking cue from a trine from Mercury in your ninth house, now communications, ideas connected to book publishing, connected to academics and study and long-term study, especially regarding study that you might want to make a career path out of, become very active. It is time to apply for that school. It is time to submit your publication to the publisher or the editor. It is time, it is time, it is time. It is time to lean into winning in a court matter. It's time to lean into foreign shore lands travel and trips. With the energy of the South Node in the third house, any trips you take, you will have been there before or in another life. Now we see the moon in the seventh house of primary one-on-one love, your marriage house, and therefore the moon in a reception to Mars is something that may also be going on in your long-term committed love relationship that wants to take a lift off, that wants to soar. And certainly with the Vestal Flame activating as well, there could be a sparking of a sort of sacred prostitute archetype here, getting back into the groove in a romantic long-term love story and finding a spark. On the other hand, of course, the Vestal Flame was celibate, but she also represents the temple prostitute, and that is a sacred kind of like sacred love, kind of the more of the tantric, red tantric vibration. So the Vestal Flame flowing to the moon in the marriage house might rekindle the romantic and sexual energy in a long-term love story, or at least a slight rekindling of it. If you're single, of course, and then you don't have a partner, this is not a thing to talk about. You might meet somebody under this, but I wouldn't count on it. Venus is not in a place to activate new romance. So it's more like for those of you who already have love stories going. And lastly, don't forget, even though Mars is moving forward to April 18th in the house of all executive decision actions and decisions, actions, and momentum that you take, it is going to be around the 18th of April to the 17th of June that Mars is in your earnings house. And that's where you can go gangbusters. Be a go-getter, make it happen, increase your wealth. In fact, during that time, when we get to June, let me think about it. We'll have Venus in your house of great gains. So there's a lot of money-making momentum for you as we move into the end of May and into June. So into June especially. So it's exciting where you go, like, I don't know what you're doing. You're a self-starter. You're starting your own business. You're passionately engaged. You're working hard. Also, if you wanted to do that facial surgery, laser, dermabrasion, facial rejuvenation, ponytail, facelift, whatever you're up to, Mars is a surgeon in the house of the face, and that's all good for that too. And also for changing your dietary style. April, with ease and flow and no hardship, eliminating foods and drinks and things that you shouldn't smoke, all that stuff works really well. April the 18th, right, to June 17th. So you can choose those dates successfully for the things I've just outlined. Go to rehab then. All right, we're going slow today. Leo, sun, moon, and rising. It happens to be important. It's like 1977, August to June of 78. You're back in the same saddle if you were alive to go through that journey. So Mars is moving in your 12th house. This is really good for that addiction, self-undoing, eliminating bad habits. It's not so great for hidden enemies coming out of the woodwork. You know what I mean? Like people who don't have your back, sneaking around and trashing you or whatever, undermining you. So it might have been a little bit of that going on September, October. By November, he was out of there, November 4th, and Mars moved into your first house. Now, by the way, foreign land travel and distant shore adventures as well in your 12th house. But then he entered your second house, and then it was all about your body. It was about your matters to do with your temperament. You might have been more angry, more feisty. You might have injured yourself. In Leo, you might have burned yourself. You might have had agitation. Maybe, unfortunately, Mars and Leo can be cardiovascular events. And that could have been a challenge because of his long duration here, too, because of the retrograde. So he was in this part of your sky, November the 4th, direct motion, then retrograde December 6th, but not leaving till January 6th. So mostly all of November and December, Mars was heating you up. And most likely the sword you had in your hand was aimed at your long-term committed love partner. And you might have been very gnarly with that person, or more bitchy or grumpy with them, or more aggressive with them. Now, with this Mars coming back, also just remember to Leo, he'll be back April the 18th, all the way through until June 17th. Just be careful about injuries and burning yourself and stuff like that, being overly hot-headed, but now you're going to be able to make decisions and take actions directly. Unfortunately, with Mars going direct in your 12th house, it's not like that. This is where you have to go into your subconscious, your Akashic records, your past lives. It's prenatal. It's stuff that you can't get your head wrapped around. It's not a logical, linear mental place. And so it can be what you're doing passionately behind the scenes, especially to improve your health. And that could be something that you're really working on with this Mars direct station. Were you trying to improve your health, get rid of an addiction? Were you thinking of a foreign land travel opportunity? Were you aggressively pursuing enlightenment? These are things that may have been true in the first week of October. And as he stations direct, February 23rd, and continues to move forward throughout your 12th house until April the 18th, those matters are getting forward momentum. But the decision-making, action-taking momentum for you personally is when he's in Leo, mid-April to mid-June. But then with a kite forming, flowing to a moon in your 6th house, there's a lot of liftoff for your work and your livelihood regarding pets, regarding rental property opportunities. With the Vestal flame in the 4th house, some of you may rent a new home. Some of you may move your home and you may rent a home. You could be the landlord or the tenant. Some of you may have a devotion towards a pet, and this could indicate getting a new animal in your life, in your domestic life. With also Mercury in the 8th house, money you share with your spouse, your taxes, your financial resources, your investments, your passive earnings like royalty income are all on the table, bank loans and mortgages included. And so there's some Vestal flame in the 4th house and all that banking in the 8th house activation from Mars's support. And so you might also be able to, liberate money from tax hardships, pull on some inheritance money, perhaps create some income from a property sale. These are rental as well. These are options that you have going on here, right? So keep that in mind. Sacred flame in the 4th house is asking you to cook at home, to make good things in your kitchen, to be a chef in the home, and to tend the hearth fires of your domestic life. Mars is activating your desire to nest and cook and chef and take care of yourself in a sacred way, and make your home a sanctuary, make your home a temple. If you haven't done that yet, find a space in your house. This is what Mars would suggest from a house of liberation and Moksha house, Mercury and Saturn. Make your home a temple, find a sanctuary space, make it yours. All right. If you don't have it yet, find it, or find a home that offers that to you. Okay. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising. So first of all, you're already a temple priestess, right? Virgo is the temple priestess. So you're a priest and priestess, sacred duty. So I wanted to mention that to you because we're going to talk about the Vestal flame, and it's very good for Virgos, what I'm seeing in the sky. So one of the things you have to notice is time repeats itself. So as I mentioned in the intro, 77, 78, you've been through this before, August through to like June, and it's back again. having the retrograde, having Mars move direct September, October through your 11th house of friends, allies, and benefactors and career gains might have increased your career gains in September, October, and it may have been connected to allies, benefactors, and an elder sibling. And you may have been also paring away, cutting out friends and social obligations and groups that don't fit you. And you may have had some fights with some friends or even disagreements with a sibling, one older. But then Mars entered into on November 4th, your Leo 12th house. This is where you might have been slicing through your own worst enemy stuff, your own sabotaging, self-defeating strategies, maybe cutting away on addictions. Maybe some of you were doing December dry Jan or something, because Mars in your 12th house starting on November 4th and being there till January 6th would have given you a lot of impetus to really work with some of those patterns that don't serve your physical health and your mental, emotional well-being. And some of you may have just traveled abroad, because Mars in the 12th house does do long distance travel. So that's what you may have been doing with Mars in Leo back in November, December. But Mars is retrograding, of course, did retrograde into Cancer on January 6th. And now is turning around February 23rd. And this is going to activate the first week of October. Things that you were doing that first week of October, just considerations, the thoughts, the possibilities of what you wanted to enact and do. It could have been what friends you wish to dismiss or dissociate from. It could have been what career gains you wish to passionately pursue. It could have been about what dreams and goals and life plans and wishes are no longer true, and you're cutting away the ones that no longer fit you. And if you had been considering some of these things and not taken action on them all, or a friendship fell apart and there was a fight, now that we're on the 23rd and there is a direct motion narrative in Cancer, you are now enabled to be more successful in those friendships, in those career gains, and in those long range dreams and goals. When this Mars was going through this part of the sky for my Virgo girlfriend, in September, October, I was at a birthday party with her in Palm Springs, and we had a major fight. And because I discovered I'm autistic spectrum disordered, and I couldn't deal with that many people, that much pool and champagne and partying. I wanted to just be alone in my room, and I had to share a room, and it really overstressed my nervous system and deregulated me, and I shut down. So I didn't know that time that's my condition all life long. I could never understand how people do the kinds of things that they do. I needed quiet. And so this friendship discombobulation for her, right, is a story, right? There you go. So I know my Virgo rising daughter also had a friend move away back to Ireland. So there's like friendship losses some of you might have been going through in September, October. And don't worry about that, in the sense that these things do turn around as Mars is now going direct in February on the 23rd through to mid-April. And those friendships can be reestablished, restored. Your long-range dreams and plans and goals can be enacted on. Now, if you want, with Jupiter in your 10th house, Virgo, to get more money or to aggressively pursue an upgrade in work and money matters, for career gains, then Jupiter says yes and Mars says yes. So this is a good time for a Virgo looking for an upgrade to look for new jobs, apply for new jobs, to ask for raises or promotions, etc. Looking at the kite that's forming, you'll notice that, first of all, you are a sacred priestess, and now there's a flow from Mars to the devotional flame in the house of siblings, neighbors, neighborhood, short distance travel, and marketing and selling. And there's also Mars in a flowing relationship to Mercury in the house of your legal contracts, negotiations, and spouse and long-term relationships. And finally, the kite peaks out in your 5th house of romantic love, and there's a moon at the tip of this kite. I am going to go back a day so at least we can see it. And so this moon at the tip of a kite with the muse of Urania may incite some of you to be more romantically inspired with the one you're with, to really rekindle some kind of connection. It could also lend you the opportunities for entrepreneurial success, especially if you wanted to consider creating some online entrepreneurial side hustle. This could work really well with the Vestal flame in the 3rd house and the moon anchored in the 5th, and the audience marketplace in the 7th. And Mercury says more career gains because you have an entrepreneurial business, and so, or a side hustle or something like that. Your 5th house is your children, and there could be some good developments coming off the sky for your children, especially regarding your children and fertility, children and pregnancy, and children and marriage and love relationships, and good news in your life through your children in these matters. So let me know what happens, Virgos. Let me know what happens. No, I'm not going to go days. I want to go hours. I am only on Libra. This girl's taking a chocolate break. I'm only on Libra. Did you know that I started the Pluto Chronicles? Come join me on the Pluto Chronicles. It's on Substack. It's free, or you can upgrade to a paid version for like $6 a month or $7 a month, whatever it is. And I write a lot over there, and I give a monthly forecast and audio weekly forecast as well. And it's separate from anything else I do anywhere else. It doesn't replicate what I do on YouTube or Patreon community. It's mostly where I'm writing because I'm returning to a love of writing. So join me over on Substack if you like writing. If you're just a free subscriber, you're still going to get a lot of content. And when I share something that's paid, it's kind of a weird system, but it's got a paywall. So if you're liking the vibe of what I'm starting to write and you want the whole thing, you can always subscribe and unsubscribe again, I guess. All right, just check it out. I think I have almost 2,000 subscribers over there about that. And it's just a lot of fun for me to be back in the writing groove. So that's why I created the Pluto Chronicles, and I'm covering everything Pluto and Aquarius over the next 20 years. All right, I'm getting chocolate, and we're going to continue on with Libra through Pisces. All right, that was an important chocolate break in the life of Lori. I'm telling you, is there any reason not to love chocolate, especially dark chocolate? And yes, I know it's full of magnesium, which is wonderful, and theobromine. All right, so Libras, let's talk. Mars is moving through the sign of Cancer, going direct on February 23rd, but he was already here all of September and all of October, turned around in November on the 4th, moved on November 4th into the sign of Leo. This is your 11th house, 10th and 11th, stayed in your 11th house of Leo all the way through until January the 6th, but retrograded December 6th. So first of all, let's get some stories under our belt. What were you up to in your career path, September, October, especially the first week of October, where Mars is sitting at a degree he spent in the first week of October? And how were you ambitiously pursuing your career success? Some of you, although, may have been also getting tired, overworked, and workaholicked out, and maybe October and November considering quitting. If you weren't passionately devoted and overstressed about it, or working your ass off because Mars is in debility, you were also thinking of quitting, or your job was almost quitting you, or your work was almost quitting you. I don't know. Because we have the rampaging centaur here, Bienor, be careful you don't go on a rampage at work, meaning you lose your shit. On the other hand, Sirius, the dog star, is auspicious and can bring great success as it's with the station of Mars. And so Mars is asking you what you need and want and desire, and what actions and decisions you need to take in your career space. And this is now direct February 23rd all the way until April the 18th. And that's your golden window time to change your job, quit your job, apply for a new job, ramp up your passion, drive, and ambition for the job or career path you're already on. And you may have been considering things in October, especially the first week, that are maybe back on the books again regarding choices and actions in your career that you are now ready and willing to take. With Mars also in Leo before, November the 4th, and turning around on December the 6th, there are things going on, November 4th to December 6th in your career gains house that are also being asked to be readdressed, particularly when he enters back into Leo. And that will be on the 18th of April to the 17th of June. And certainly that's a really good time for momentum and passion and drive around making money. But if you also had some falling out with friends or social groups, or some disconnections from those people, or hardships or arguments with them, or argument or hardship with a sibling, one older, that you can remember going through already, right? Both November 4th to January 6th, then that is also back in play for readvisement, readdressing, and redirecting. No more stuckness there. Certainly, I noticed when Mars is in someone's 11th house on a normal transit, and don't forget you get this mid-April to mid-June, that lots of times there's an ending, cutting, and severing in social groups. You no longer are going to go to the knitting club. You are going to quit this corporate, societal, cultural thing that you've been involved in that's a bigger part of you. He's a movement maker sometimes in this 11th house. You may be championing some cause, but if you do, you're doing it for the right reasons, because Mars is now direct after having reconsidered itself from the retrograde portion of the sky. Now, Mars is also in a conversation with a Vestal flame in the house of earnings, and therefore your second house desire to create money must be in alignment with more of a sense of sacred calling or duty. And that sounds like a pleasure, leisure. It sounds like a first world problem. I get it. We all have to have money on the table. We need a job. But let's put it this way. Mars in your 10th house flowing to the Vestal flame in the earnings house, flowing to the 6th house of work, indicates a grand trine anchored kite that says it is time for you to consider these Artha houses, a deeper alignment with the work you do in this world, with a sense of devotion and dedication that's more important than just the money. Now, if you want to change your dietary styles and health matters, certainly you can do that, because the same trine is in the house of what you eat and in that 6th house of things that are connected to health problems. And so a more contained, constrained, and intelligent way to eat and make food or chef up in the home and support better health is definitely indicated here. And by doing so, you'll improve your career results. Now, the kite is pointing at the moon stoically in Capricorn in the bottom of your chart. That's your home life, domestic and private. And it may be that you're being stoic and determined and emotionally sturdy and resilient in your home life, and the muse is right beside you, heating your emotions and your inspiration and the muse, the creative energies in the home. And yet there's a reception between that moon and Mars. Mars is in the temple of the moon, and the moon is in the exaltation home of Mars. And therefore, the backbone of the kite wants to also lift off to some success connected to the home itself and what you do in and from your home life. Funny enough, this is a really offside, but a pet could really help here. You have a stellium in the house of domestic animals, and flowing to the moon in the home and activating Mars. Sometimes a companion pet can be a blessing. It's being able to emotionally connect to the realm of the animal world in a way that can work for your behalf, on your behalf for your work. I don't know how it's going to work, but it's going to work. So if you don't have a pet and you need or want a pet, and you've been thinking it's like frivolous or unreliable or unpredictable, get a pet. Some of you Libras already have pets, that's fine. But if you're a Libra without a pet, this is a great opportunity to get an animal. Get something easy. Don't get something that's going to make your life difficult. You guys never know what the work-life balance is. I never met a Libra who knows how to have a work-life home balance. So get the easy animal, get the iguana, get the cat that's already passed the litter training, get something easy, go get a rescue. All right. If you get an animal under this, it's a past life animal. North Node in the house of pets. It's, the animal from another life, or an animal that passed away when you were a child, coming back and as a soul to be your animal. I would not normally suggest this, but this moon sextile the house of pets and kind of softening up things, looks like animals could be good for you. Finally, rental properties. If you want to rent a property out, like you're a landlord, or lease a property and you're thinking about that, this is ideal. This is a beautiful movement towards the possibility of a really lovely opportunity in either side of that coin. And Mars says, I'm good for that story, the rental story and the home story. I'm good for that through till mid-April. And then he's in your second house of, of career earnings and gains itself. And then you're going to focus more on that. All right, we're going to move on to the next sign. Scorpio. That is nettle tea, guys. I love nettle tea. Scorpio, sun, moon, and rising sign. Mars is in a story you haven't seen since 77, 78. He's back. He's spending a dog's age in Cancer and Leo like he did then. Listen to the intro. If you want to talk about Mars in your Cancer sky, you go back September 4th to November 4th. He was activating actions and decisions in the 9th house. Some Scorpios may have been, working on publications, podcasts, book publishing. You may have been passionately pursuing higher education. You might have been aligning with the idea of foreign land travel and visas. My Scorpio sun has been waiting for his passport was stolen and he's got a bunch of paperwork, and that's exactly what that Mars is fighting for, the visa. You might have been involved in legal matters in court cases. You may have traveled to foreign countries. September, October. Then November 4th, he entered into your 10th house. Hard work, passionate engagement in career, busting your ass. Maybe wanting to quit your job, or your job feeling like it wants to quit you. When? November the 4th to January 6th, Mars in Leo. But Mars retrograded. on December 6th. And by the time we got to January 6th, he had slipped back into your ninth house, the ninth house of all of the action you felt September and October. Certainly, if you were waiting for that passport or visa, like my son is probably coming through as he goes back here, and he goes into direct motion on February 23rd. So February 23rd, Mars is direct in your ninth house of God. This sometimes cut and sever a father relationship. I'm just having to tell you that, okay? You're under an inheritance transit connected to family of origin through to June 9th. So just letting you know, father figures, and I'll include grandfather figures, and, you know, monies, inheritances, and health challenges or separations could happen. The dog star Sirius is here. Fame, success, worldly success, and spiritual alignment with magic is activating. Now, if you're somebody for whom the word life, purpose, and meaning and dharma have any resilient meaning, like you will say, I want to live a life aligned with purpose, and this is Mars saying, I'm here to help. And so he will help you do that, and he can also help you win a court case up there. And that's true February 23rd to April 18th. April the 18th, he slides into your Leo 10th house of career. He's going to be there April 18th to June 17th. It's going to remind you just about how you felt in the work environment and what actions and decisions you were thinking of in the work environment and the career and reputation environment back in November and December. Okay, so now you're ready. All systems go to execute and take action mid-April to mid-June. Sometimes it means quitting a job, leaving a job. Sometimes it means passionately working your ass off in a work and career matter to escalate to greater success. Mars forms a kite, as you can see, to the flame of devotion in the house of you. You want to be dedicated and devoted to things to do with creativity, art, romance, baby making. Fifth house matters. This is where you're all lined up in a Dharma triangle. But also the kite points to the moon in the third house with Urania, the muse. The third house is your social media world. You might be very successful in social media projects with this last quarter moon, suggesting that you could indeed have some great success in any matters to do with things that are online, social media, writing, communicating, even marketing and selling here. And certainly having that moon in a flow to the North Node, Saturn, Mercury combination, and Neptune in the fifth house of the stage, of the arts, of creativity, of natural talents. Some of you might have a lovely little breakthrough here. Uranus in the house of the marketplace can have you with a creative breakthrough of some sort, with a more public recognition or a viral hit in something that you're putting out there in this world. On a more practical note, I mean, the fifth house is a house of fertility and baby making and creative projects, and having Mars flowing to that as he stations direct with the dog star Sirius is a really auspicious energy, lucky energy for you. Both houses 9 and 5 are luck houses. And so some luck in the arts and the creative arts and the passionate projects that you're engaged in, especially if you are a writer or you share that work in an online setting. Lastly, there's a moon at the tip of a kite connected to your friends, your allies, your neighbors, like your neighbors, your neighborhood, your childhood friends, your sibling, especially one younger. And there could be some success in the life of a younger sibling that you're watching them have as you see this moon connected to this Mars station direct. Okay. And that's what I got for you. You know, trips. Travel and trips can lead to fertility and pregnancy. When? Oh, well, anywhere between now, let's say, and April the 18th. Okay. So Sagittarius, sun, moon, and rising sign, it is beautifully aligned for you in a fire trine, by the way, with that Leo thing, to see what Mars is up to in a way he's done last seen in 77, 78. First of all, Mars is in your 8th house, and that's a difficult house, right? It's a difficult house to witness from your Sag rising position, sun or moon. So there may have been a lot going on behind the scenes to do with your finances, your accounting, your taxes, September and October, the money you share with a spouse or long-term committed love partner, the money that's connected to your bank loans, mortgages, and debts that you hold through credit cards. And so Mars here definitely was working it up for you in September, October, taxes included. And then he, on November the 4th went into Leo, and he went into the house of legal matters. And that could, for some of you, be separation of assets and division of assets in a marriage, at the end of a relationship, and court and legal matters. Because as Mars in Leo was in Leo in the house of courts from November 4th to January 6th, you may have been really mashing and hashing out the legalities of separation in a long-term relationship and asset separations as well. On the other hand, Mars here in the 8th house can very well cut away parts of your identity that no longer work for you, especially if you're hinged on childhood stories that define who you are. And you need to let them go. The ancestral stories, the past life stories, the childhood stories. This is moksha, spiritual liberation, that you're being asked to engage in. Mars then moving into the 9th house, right? November and December may have pivoted you to travel internationally, or to apply for a higher education, or to get your visas lined up for some kind of international travel. On January 6th, however, he retrograded back into the 8th house, and you keep going between the chunky money house and the international or the legal or the travel house, back and forth. So there's something going on there that's very profound. It's connecting you to your dharma, to your life's purpose. Some of that purpose and dharma through higher education or travel may have occurred and still be occurring. I have a Sag Sun friend who is now in India on a pilgrimage, and this happened to coincide with that transit of Mars through Leo to prompt him to get ready for that trip. So there's things about Mars coming back to the 9th house, the Leo 9th house, that will occur mid-April to mid-June, that are kind of the grand finale. And if you have any desire to move into a new alignment of purpose through many means, finding a guide, a teacher, a mentor, or a guru, activating anything to do with higher education or all of that, you can do that very well. Or mid-April to mid-June, the final court case establishment of assets in a separation or divorce. Now, Mars is inviting a kite to the table, and it is a kite with a tip in the house of your financial resources. With a mutual reception to the moon, it's good for your money. And so some Sages are going to increase their financial resources off of this kite. And so between now and mid-April, that might be true. Also, the kite is flowing to the Vestal flame in the 12th house. This is backroom deals and negotiations, but also sacred pilgrimages connected to foreign lands and temples and foreign lands and foreign spiritual questing. Mars is also flowing to your 4th house of the ancestors, the financial, the home of family of origin, your mom, your dad, particularly the house of the mom, but just the family of origin. And Mars flowing to your 4th house from the 8th house could indicate that you, between now and mid-April, could look at the potential of selling a property or buying a property, either one, selling or buying a property, and increasing your financial wellness because of it. Some of you Sages may have felt alone, home alone, melancholic in the home, nostalgic and melancholic in your home life, as Saturn has been in your 4th house ever since 2023 and finally leaves in 26 February full time. So I want to bring that up only because Saturn is such a critical part of this chart as he flows to Mars. And you might really want to think about how you, between February 23rd and March 18th, could make a change in your home life, with whom you live or where you live, in order to rectify that problem. Mars is good at eliminating things that plague your soul here. And with the moon being just the categoric meaning of home, and in the earnings house, I think some of you are definitely making some changes in the home that can lead to some financial positive developments for you. Again, buying a home, selling a home, moving out of a home with someone, or having someone move out of the home. Those are all possibilities at this point. All right, moving into anything else, Sages? No, not really. With that trine anchored in a moksha, 12, 8, and 4, advice to Sages: go under the hood of your conscious mind and everyday self and look deeply into the most soulful parts of your being, because this has not happened since, August of 77 to June of 78, where you could go this deep with, help from Mars into understanding who you are beneath the character, beneath the surface of you. And by understanding who you are, then what you actually want to be. Like St. Francis of Assisi, make me an instrument of your peace, right? What do you want to be purpose for? because the Dharma houses are where Mars is activating next. When he goes into Leo, mid-April to mid-June, he activates life, meaning, true north, and purpose after a deep soul dive in your Pisces, in your Cancer 8th house. And let's face it, North Node will change your home. A lot of you will move your home by the summer of 2025. I mean, summer of 2000, July of 2026. All right, so here we go, Aquarians. I'm one of you, and you can listen for your rising like me, or sun and moon. It's like the elephant in the room, right? Pluto is in our sign, and we don't suffer fools gladly. We are also dominating and powerful in ways we've never been, but we're also being purposed by a transpersonal planet that moves through us, as us. So we're not in charge of Pluto. Pluto is in us, as us, through us. We are forces for humanity's evolution and our own personal transformation, regeneration, catharsis, and rebirth. That said, we're looking at a sky where Mars, not since 77, 78, has done this dance through the two signs of your 6th house and your 7th house. Now, the 6th house is a work house, right? Your job, your work. It's also your health. It's also your pets. It's also rental properties. Mars entered into your 6th house back in September the 4th to November the 4th. Therefore, you were either working really hard, boy, was I ever. You were making changes with pets, or pets are, having health issues. You were having rental property considerations changing. Just as a simple thing, my landlord increased my rent slightly back in September, October. All right, that kind of thing. And so there's those changes in that area of the chart. Your health could have been a challenge, September, October, bumping into some health problems, or you might have made elimination matters work for your health. I went on the autoimmune protocol diet in September, October, never looked back. I don't have swelling in my joints anymore because I don't eat legumes or I don't eat nightshades. So, all said and done, all my arthritis disappeared. If you want to try that out, autoimmune protocol, AIP diet. Now, I still don't eat legumes really, or nightshades, which are potatoes and tomatoes. So it is very literal, guys. It's very literal. These guys are very literal. Don't overthink it. Okay. Then Mars moved, of course, into Leo right after, like November the 4th through to January 6th, with a retrograde on December 6th. So he tiptoes into Leo, marriage, committed love, marketplace, clients, audience, and business partners. Mars goes in there with a knife or a sword, and he wants to prune and cut. That's his job. Or your partner's got gnarly and grumpy at you, whatever it was, or the trolls came out of the closet on steroids, especially Mars opposite Pluto, and like someone duck, right? The trolls were so hard ass then. And of course, this is November the 4th post-election, and people slam my channel for suggesting that maybe the other candidate would have been the winner. And I get it. I've never had a downdraft of, a couple hundred people unsubscribing within a day, but we don't get it always 100% right here in astrology land. So you would have gone through this with me, Aquarians. What happened for you, November the 3rd or 4th through to December 6th, that suited January 6th with Mars in your 7th house. Now, separation, cutting from long-term committed love. Sometimes that means just geographical. The guy who got me the flowers, right? American guy, he's in America. We separated. He went back to America in December because he doesn't have a Canadian full-time visa. So it's just very literal. But however, Mars has more to do there. And I want to remind you that he will be April 18th to June 17th back in your 7th house. So if there is a relationship in your life, then where it stands in this time frame, will it stay or will it go? The scissors god will let you know mid-April to mid-June. Funny enough, 1977, 78, I believe that was when I had my first high school boyfriend and we broke up. His name was Robert. We're still friends. Oh my God. And I love his wife. So these kinds of stories are there. You could find that with Mars now going direct on February 23rd on the dog star Sirius, which is fame and wealth, but also magic and alchemy, that something is transforming in your health, and something is transforming in your work, and something is transforming in relationship to pets and rental agreements in a positive way. You may find that you want to get a pet now, right? Mars is direct. So between now and mid-April, in comes a pet, or make a change in your rental situations, or whether you're the tenant or the landlord, or make a shift regarding your work and health routines. Join a gym or quit another food substance, or change the way you do the work you do. And you can do that with assuredness now. February 23rd to mid-April, you have what it takes not only to work hard and successfully, but to do it with assurance. Mars is trining the Vestal flame of sacred duty and devotion in the career, nothing short of devotion. He's telling the flame in his house, hey, this Aquarian needs to be in a sacred duty. It's not about the money. It's about a sense of perfected duty. You're here to serve a greater sacred dedication, to keep the realm in peace, so to speak. And there's a sense of elevation, of a flame lit in the house of career, and Mars activating that flame. Mars is flowing to the money and earnings house. This is an Arthur triangle, houses 10, 2, and 6. It's about stabilizing, increasing your money through mercurial means, marketing, selling, and communicating. Mercury can confabulate, but now we're being realistic. Saturn is about the hardcore realism with more inspiration and enchantment. This is going to activate a change in your earnings. It's going to make something happen for an increase of career, money, and earning success through decisions, action, momentum, drive, and hard work. So get ready for that to be true. February 23rd, all the way till mid-April, with the moon in the 12th house. If you make money through international companies, barter trade, export, import, if you make money, borderless income and digital income revenue, because you have no borders to your money, this is going to increase that money pretty successfully. Okay. It's going to be a financial increase there. It's coming off the tail end of a last quarter moon, and that last half moon, that can indicate it's also a sort of culminating energy, a finally grand finale of that kind of financial revenue. If you want to quit an addiction, a self-undoing food style, Mars is supporting that, and self-undoing and addictions can be 12th house, 6th house stuff, and you can cut it out forever. Funny enough, with this chart, some of you could get a horse, an elephant, a donkey, a cow. I mean, you get a big animal and or a small domestic pet coming your way off of this. So some of you equine people who love their horses are going to probably be in the comments saying, you can't believe it, I just bought a horse. All right. Or a donkey or an elephant or a hippopotamus or some big wild game animal. All right. And anything else I want to say? Well, like, Saturn stabilizes and secures more savings and gives you structures for making money, but he makes making money hard and you feel like you're working hard. But I think this is a turnaround story between now and mid-April, because Mars is ready to execute actions and decisions in the work environment to support a flow of ease with the money and the earnings. Now, don't forget, as I said, I'm not going to go over it and belabor it, but in a long-term committed love business partnership, there can be challenges mid-April to mid-June. If you have trolls or audience people who are stabbing you or throwing darts at you, it's back again mid-April to mid-June. I predicted more than once that Trump is in harm's way for being unalived again. And that looks like a story that definitely activates mid-March to the end of April. And probably because I call it, I'll be trolled. I don't know what it'll be, but there's things there that will look like, for online people like me, harsh troll energy coming through the sky. All right. And, enemies and hidden enemies can connect to both. Hidden enemies can be the 6th house in Indian astrology. So also feeling like, finally by mid-April, the backstabbers are gone out of your life, right? That kind of thing. I just had a backstabber relationship, and thank God. And the person doesn't even know how they were, like how I perceived them to be non-reciprocal in the relationship, right? And they think I'm the bad guy. Life is so funny. Moving on. That was a work colleague thing. All right. Let's go on to Pisces, and we will be finished up here. Now, poets of the zodiac, mystics of the zodiac, creatives and wanderers and transcendental you, questing for the spiritual truth in life, you are experiencing that stellium. That is a once in a lifetime story. There's a pile up in your sign. So that's almost its own story. And with a North Node here and Saturn and not seen in conjunction since 1850 something, you are up for a massive revision of self this year, right? Keep that in mind. That said, against the backdrop of that, we have Mars in a trine to you from the 5th house, February 23rd, going direct on the beautiful star Sirius for fame and wealth. If you are thinking that you wanted to do some creative, artistic, or entrepreneurial project, then February 23rd to mid-April, yes, go for it. Also, Mars had been already in that 5th house of children and creativity and entrepreneurial projects. Mars had already been there September 4th to November 4th. And around the first week of October, where he's sitting as he stations direct, there are some stories going on that you need to reconsider or should reconsider. Like you were thinking in the first week of October or pondering in the first week of October something important to do with your children, your creativity, your romantic and sexual life, your artistic project, your entrepreneurial businesses, that kind of thing, your joy factor. They might be eliminating things that don't bring you joy and pleasure and fun. Now, Mars is also very competitive, and you might have been very competitive September, October in some manner. Pursuing love aggressively, pursuing romance, September, October aggressively. Then he slid, November 4th through to January 6th into your 6th house of work, health. That can bring injuries. My Pisces rising sister slipped and fell and was injured. So injuries, accidents is the meaning of the 6th house. So accidents. Some of you may have had injuries and accidents when? November 4th to January 6th. I would have warned you about that at my channel to be careful, just so you know. Then on January 6th, he slipped backwards into Cancer. So things that are going on in your Cancer sky, say January 6th to February 23rd are going to be revisited. Also, things about the first week of October are going to be revisioned and revisited regarding your children, your love life, your sex life, your romance, your entrepreneurial stories, and your adventures in the land of entrepreneurship or self-starter creations, being the boss of you. And then, of course, mid-April, April 18th to June 17th, it's back into the workhouse, the pets house, and the injuries and accidents house. So can be careful. But you can also make decisions and take actions regarding your work. He's in his house of his joy in Hellenistic astrology. You can be joyfully, passionately engaged in a line of work, getting employed or employment under this energy, or running your own business and having a lot of passion and ardor and dedication and really going for it. Well, Mars stations direct, he also flows to the Vestal flame in your 9th house of Dharma and God and sacred duty and sacred temples, and he flows to Saturn and Mercury in your sign. So pay attention as he goes direct on February 23rd, or especially a day or two before and after, about new ideas, Mercury, that come to you in your imagination, Pisces, connected to destiny and Neptune imagination, that you might want to enact as a creative project, a book, a piece of art, an entrepreneurial business project. All right, keep your eye on the ideas and the imagination here. The festal flame is in a house of dreams. Pay attention to your dreams. Neptune rules dreams. You may have visionary dreams and insights coming through close to February 23rd. Now, should you be looking at that moon, as I am, at the tip of a kite, it is a kite in your house of career gains. And with Mars getting ready mid-April to mid-June to move into the work house, I could only imagine that something about this kite is asking you to increase your success financially in your career gains. Some of that can happen through a female ally, benefactor, particularly a sibling one older, but any female ally or benefactor can be an assistant to you in increasing your career gains, as well as a sibling 2 older than you, which is represented by the Vestal flame in the 9th house. So sibling 1 and 2 years older can really be a part of a greater success story for you in career gains, especially as we move towards the later story of mid-April to mid-June. Now, some of you may cut away from an existing relationship because as Mars stations direct, he sextiles the South Node in a long-term love story, and possibly as another way to interpret the sky is you have the decision-making momentum to end a romantic relationship and partnership of some sort. That's a possibility for some of you Pisces. You're going to go, okay, I finally got the courage, core, the heart, energy. Mars, especially in Leo, when he moves in there, your heart is activated to make decisions you need to make for your own best good. But I would say it's also the house of lawsuits, and you might get entangled in a bit of a legal mess. Be careful there too. but there may be some Pisces looking at Mars's permission to let go of a relationship. Now, Mars could also be a lover versus your spouse, and you're going to go with the lover because Mars is a lover, not a fighter. And he's in the house of romantic love, where something's leaking out the long-term marriage house. Now, normally I wouldn't suggest this, because it's going to sound really, scandalous. But I mean, Pisces, you guys are like the Geminis, you're a double-bodied sign. You got two sides. You got Jekyll Hyde, like the Geminis. There's two of you in there, and one of you might be, looking at going with a lover and getting rid of a long-term love story. That's a possibility, just so you know. So goodbye to the mate and hello to the lover. And if that's true, did you have a lover September, October pressuring you to do that, for example? But now that the South Node entered the 7th house, there's an energy that allows for that maybe choice to be made. Reminds me of that song, torn between two lovers, feeling like a fool, yada, yada, yada. All right. Are you interested in publishing a book? Are you interested in going back to university? Are you interested in taking a course that will professionally advance you? Those are all yes, 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 as Mars stations direct now through to mid-April. So follow that path. Do you want to travel to a foreign country? Yes, then Mars supports that as well. All right, that's what I have for you guys. This is a way long video. Capricorn, sun, moon, and rising. We're moving into your sign because I actually forgot you. And this is being patched into a very technically challenged video for the Mars moving direct, February 23rd, and your sign, Capricorn. What's going on here? First of all, it looks to me like you've got Mars heading direct in the sign of Cancer, the sign of long-term committed and significant love relationships, business partners, and of course, anything that might have to do with your audience, your client, and your marketplace. And on February the 23rd, this baby heads direct. Mars has been retrograde here since, drum roll please, if you listen to my intro, he's been retrograding here since January the 6th, and also retrograde in general from the Leo part of your sky of chunky money, shared resources, investment money, inheritances and taxes, retrograde from that 8th house ever since December the 6th. So in some ways, what I'd like to ask you about here is what things to do with the money that you have in your long-term investment structures and or money that you share with a significant other spouse, and it could be your current spouse, it could even be that old alimony spousal support that is going to have to be revised, revisited, and reinvestigated. Something needs to change. You're looking at what that might be, and you need to make decisions. And some of those decisions also pertain to that old should I stay or should I go when it comes to long-term and committed love. Now, you will want to go back to September, and you want to go back to October as Mars is moving direct through the house of long-term committed relationship. And notice what you were doing in that relationship, especially around October the 5th, 6th, or the first week of October, because that's kind of the territory that Mars is parking his butt at as he stations retrograde. And if you could check out your conversations, your memories of what happened there when it comes to business partnerships, long-term love relationships, or legal contracts as well, then you might find that this is coming back for you taking a look at it, some investigation of these themes and decisions you're going to make February 23rd through to mid-April, through to April the 18th, as Mars continues through your 7th house. Now, I mentioned this already when we talked about the Aquarius rising, that just having Mars in your 7th house is going to be about changes or decisions or actions you need to take in long-term committed marriages or relationships that are monogamous or cohabitational or just very serious, your significant relationships. And Mars here kind of cutting through this Cancer sky, the way he's doing from Leo will take you back to 1977, 78, but also 2009 and 10. I gave you a chart at the beginning to compare some of the Cancer Mars transits, so please go take a look at that. But in the aftermath of this energy of having been retrograde or backwards moving, Mars in that committed love house going backwards ever since December the 6th, you might ask, well, sorry, go backwards since January 6th in your 7th house. There may be something about a pause or a delay or a break I mean, like taking a break, like taking a lunch break, in some significant long-term love. Sometimes Mars just means geographical separation. He cuts ends, he separates things. So you're separated from that person. Now, on the 23rd, if you want to be with that person again, for instance, if it's travel related or you're reconsidering a breakup, that will be when you have the inner knowing, the inner, determination, the inner clarity, what actions and decisions need to be made. Or maybe your partner is also in that same mode. Now, because Mars will go into Leo, of course, just remember that mid-April to mid-May, you're full on with that money story, taxes, inheritances, money from property, money and investments, money that you need to figure out what to do with it, what decisions to make with it, especially when it comes to spousal support or shared resources with a partner, whether you're separated or you're together. And so a lot of Mars is focused for you in a way you haven't seen since 1977, 78. Some of you are very young. It was going to take you right back to that money story, but you're ready for it this time. Like November 3rd till January 6th. Yeah, Mars was in your shared resources, finances, unearned income, 8th house, chunky money, but he wasn't ready to make executive decisions yet. Now he is. So it's going to be very financially related stories mid-April to mid-June. As Mars heads direct, of course, he forms this beautiful flowing triangle that we're talking about to Saturn and the North Node. Energetically, there's going to be a kite as well. And the tip of the kite, we'll get to that in a minute. But let's just talk about, what this water flow is as he stations direct. There's something about news, information, text messages, emails, phone calls, maybe around the 23rd, 24th, 22nd, 23rd, 24th, coming from aunts, uncles, cousins, niece, nephews, siblings, planning a trip, organizing a trip, booking a trip, maybe a connection in the same thing, of course, to what you need to devote yourself to. Is it friendships? Is it social groups? Is it career earnings? Do you need to find a sacred devotion to making some money in your life? Do you need to find some sacred duty, beyond duty, but some kind of calling when it comes to the way in which money is generated for you? However, allies and benefactors belong to your 11th house, and you may be traveling connected to legal contracts and career gains with someone who you call an ally or a benefactor, someone who has your back, someone who's a good friend or wants to help you in some way. Now, there's going to end up being a kind of a kite formation. And, that I talked about that in the beginning, I think. Maybe I didn't, but here we are in the all signs segment. So let's go with it. So let's pull up that story right now. Give me a minute. So here's the kite. We're going to look at this moon forming a kite here. And the lunation itself, it's going to be more exactly when Mars stations direct, is really putting your attention on first house matters. Like, what is it that you need to do for your own emotional and physical wellness? And how can you do that from a sense of that mutual reception between Mars and the moon? In other words, how can the moon act more bold and more daring? And how can Mars act more constructive in how you make decisions that are good for your emotional and physical well-being? Because the moon is asking you to stoically and sternly look at your own needs in this regard. The moon is also in your chart, of course, representative of matters to do with home and where you live as a general theme. And so you may be considering the big question about home and homeland and safety and emotional contentment in my living circumstances, in quotes, because of course, with that chironic wound in the 4th house of your living circumstances, some of you are absolutely not so sure about that and trying to find that place that feels like a true home. Where's my true home? Where's my true home? Finally, one thing about that lunation, that moon that's sitting up in that, it's a finish line moon. It's coming into that last half quarter. How are you going to kind of complete something? It could be completions regarding long-term love, living circumstances, etc. 4th house and 7th house matters. It could be connected to those as well. Now, finally, the moon is the ruler of your long-term marriage house, right? Committed love, business partnerships, an audience, marketplace. This could propel you to make a very lunar assessment, very stoic because of the moon in the sign of Capricorn, stoic, practical decision around what you want to do in the moon's temple. And Mars is like, Mars is like, should I get off the pot? That's what he does. He's like, take an action, make a decision already. But no, not between December 6th and February 23rd. But yes, after February 23rd, it's time to figure it out one way or the other, whether it's a legal contract, a business dealing, a situation with the way you reach an audience marketplace, or a connection of what you need to do about some long-term and committed love story. So that's what I have for you, Capricorn. I'm wedging this back into the low volume video, which really did not have the heart to re-record another hour. So anyway, and now you get to be the last but not least instead of the Pisces. Don't forget, if you like and subscribe and you comment and you share, all of these small actions on your part support the channel to grow. And the channel growing means I keep producing content because this is my livelihood. Channel not growing and I'll retire and do something new. I don't know what I'll do. I'm going to write fiction books actually, but while I'm still here and while I'm still growing, I'm still here to do the astrology with you. I might be adding a membership feature to my channel. Stay tuned for that. It will be on the membership tiers. One is I respond to your comments. I actually do respond to comments, but I get thousands of them now. So if you join a membership community on Patreon, you will get my comment responders prioritized. I will also add, stupid emoji things or facial thingies, badges are called. And I will do maybe a weekly live or twice a month live where I'm on a live call with you guys talking astrology, and we're doing it together. And then later the public can rewatch. Oh, the public can never rewatch it. It just stays for us members. And I've been a member of a couple other channels and their lives. One of them is an autistic mom, a mom on the spectrum, and she only gets like 5 or 6 people showing up, even though she's 150,000 subscribers. So it's very possible that when I open that kind of membership thing up, you'll be, like 4 of us in a membership room having a chat, very, very intimate. So that's separate from the 3 Zoom calls I do on my Patreon community, which are tier related and are connected to teaching astrology. I doubt I'll be teaching astrology per se on those groups. There won't be enough people there for big lessons, but it'll be dynamic conversations about the sky with astrologically curious folks. So if you have any other ideas for me using the membership feature here, let me know. It is a good idea for you to do that according to my YouTube partner manager who I'm working with right now over the next 6 months. All right. Thank you guys. I need water. Bye-bye.